Hey, Samad, film on. Can y'all hear me okay? I'm just checking my audio.
Yep, you're good.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, Samad, check my message.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
We'll
Good
give
morning.
a couple more minutes and then I'll call roll call just as a reminder. And I'll mention it again that when we do a remote meeting, we have to roll call votes. So Javier, I'll take the list down and send it to you in email in just a second.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
You bet. All right. All right. Let's see. Looks like we have a quorum. And we got a slide up there talking about meeting process. Let me call out the voting members I have on the line. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I've got Mayor Pro Tem Caballero, Commissioner Fowler, Councilor Nowell, Commissioner Alam, Mayor Bell, Board Member Lisa Mathis. Who else am I missing that should be voting today?
Karen Howard.
Karen Howard, thank you. Do we have Melissa McCullough yet?
Doug, also Carl Rist.
Thank you.
And I don't see Carl or Melissa, but I can't see everybody.
Melissa just joined, and Sally Green is here.
And I see Wendy Jacobs. Was she on the list? Did you call her?
She would not
She's not
be
a voting member.
Oh, okay.
voting if Nita is here.
And is Nitha here?
She's
I
on the
can't
line.
Okay.
She was.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Commissioner Alam. Okay, so just as a reminder, because we're meeting remotely, actions need to be roll calls. So for the voting members present, I have Councilwoman Caballero, Commissioner Fowler, Councilor Now, Councilwoman Alam, Mayor Bell, Board Member Mathis, Commissioner Howard, Councilmember McCullough, Board Member Green, and Councilor Rist. And that's 10. So that's, is that 10? Yeah, that's 10. So that's the roll call. I will email that to Javiera right now. And all, well, Commissioner Howard, you're here, so you can open up the meeting.
Yes. So I will open up the meeting and then hand it right over to Doug to manage the election of the new leadership. So good morning, all. We can take, Doug, do you want to take the roll call? Or I mean, I'm happy to, but you have the list in front of you.
Sure, I'll read that back off again.
Or yes, great.
Again, voting members from City of Durham, we have Caballero and Rist. From Orange County, Fowler, Carborough Nowell, Durham County Alam, Hillsborough Bell, NC State Board of Transportation, Mathis, Chatham County, Howard, Chapel Hill, McCullough, and the Go Triangle Board of Trustees, Green. And there's a lot of other people on the line. I don't think it would be very helpful to go through all that. So that's the roll call. And moving right into board chair and vice chair elections. Per our bylaws, we hold our elections at the last meeting of the calendar year because the nominating committee was unable to meet before the November board meeting. We postponed the officer elections to today. Just as a reminder, the bylaws allow for a chair or vice chair to serve 2 consecutive terms and that they may not be from the same county, but Commissioner Howard and Mayor Pro Tem Cavallaro are both at the end of the second terms for their respective seats. So I believe we have a nominating committee report, and then we'll move forward into taking nominations from the committee, the floor, or any member. So, Melissa, are you presenting the nominating committee report?
I wasn't notified that I was going to have to.
Oh, I'm
Karen,
sorry.
can you
I had
can you
emailed you, and
Pardon?
sorry.
Did I
maybe
not
there was
see
some
it?
confusion. You
My
responded that you were
apologies.
happy to, but that was
Oh,
a
okay.
couple of
Then I'm
weeks.
sorry. I just hadn't thought it through. I'm gonna have to do
Okay.
it from memory, which is that the three of us met. We had long discussions. We understand that both of the nominees are well qualified, but we would like to nominate Danny Nowell for chair. I should look up this email that I sent to you.
I think it was
For
vice
Danny
chair.
Noel for vice chair.
For
And,
vice chair.
Yes,
And the chair nomination was,
Councilwoman
Hold on.
Caballero.
Yes. Is that Nida reminding
Yeah.
me?
Hey, Melissa.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Nida. My apologies for being unprepared this morning.
It's been a
On
hectic
this
few
one
days.
item.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It's been a hectic few days.
No problem. And
It has.
I don't know if you guys want more details because I know also Melissa had to travel for a family needs right after we had the nominating meeting. So if you'd like, I can give a more detailed.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Nida. Yeah, it was a crazy December and it's been a busy couple days here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the nominating committee met. It was me, Melissa, and Mayor Bell. And we had a robust discussion about the two individuals, Councilmember Noel and Councilwoman Fowler. And we believe that, both candidates are very well qualified and would serve really well in both of these seats. The nominating committee ultimately decided to nominate and recommend, Commissioner Fowler, and ultimately decided to recommend Danny Noel as the vice chair for the vice chair role because of he has been serving as a voting member on the TPO board for a longer period that we believe would be a helpful transition into this vice chair leadership role. And at the same time, we obviously are very grateful for Commissioner Fowler's service on this board as well as other transportation related boards and commissions that she serves on. And then the board wanted to nominate Councilwoman Caballero to move from her vice chair role to the chair role.
Thank you so much, Nida. The one thing I do want to add is that we had a long discussion about assumptions of where the chairman and vice chairmanship should go versus the appointment of a nominating committee to talk it through and evaluate it, and that it would be useful to discuss at some point when there may be assumptions that are meant to take control of a process, and when those assumptions are not right, I guess. Anyway, we can talk about that at another time.
I see Mayor Bell has his hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, and the one thing I would add is that I think I found at least that the bylaws were a little vague about the process, and do we rotate through the municipalities or the eligible jurisdictions within a county. And so I think that is worthy of a continued conversation about what the bylaws say about the process and how we choose representation from each county.
Yep. Yep, whether the nominating committee is supposed to be merely pro forma or whether it's actually supposed to have discussions and make decisions. So with that, I think it sums up everything we had to say.
I think Matt's got his hand up.
Yes, thanks, Doug. One question I have, and I think maybe Wendy's kind of beat me to the punch here, but I don't know if there is a formal bylaws committee with the TPO, but one of the things I would certainly recommend, and I think all three of the nominating committee members are very thorough and detail oriented after knowing most of them for a long time. But I would like to suggest, since the nominating committee has actually worked through this and has questions and also have actually seen in the real world how the bylaws are insufficient, if they would be willing to work with staff to clarify the nominating procedures for the bylaws, and maybe come back to us for a recommendation with some draft language.
Sure. If that's helpful, I can do that.
We probably
think we
can
should
wait
defer
until the
until
new
we-
leadership is
New leadership.
established
Thank you.
before we actually move on that.
So would the next process be that
shall
the
I-
nominating committee
had her
has
hand
presented?
up.
Oh, sorry.
Amy Fowler had her hand up.
Doug, do you want to call on her, or am I?
Oh,
feel
am
like
I-
I've handed this over.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fowler.
I just wanted to raise the issue that I do agree that the bylaws they're actually, I believe, draft bylaws and were never approved. So I definitely agree that the bylaws need to be reviewed and approved. I also wanted to bring up the issue of the unusual nature of the fact that there was one nominating committee who made one decision, and then that nominating committee was dissolved and changed to a different nominating committee, and the bylaws do not really discuss that or recommend that or suggest that. And so I would like to hear from whoever made that decision to explain that. And then secondly, I will just say that I am still potentially interested if anyone would like to nominate me to also serve in this position. Yes, I've been just on this board for a year and a half as a voting member, but I also served a year as a alternate, and I've served multiple years on what was TARPO, now Central Pines Regional MPO or TPO, RPO, and served as vice chair on that board. I think this one in particular is very important given significant changes that we are considering, or that our executive director is considering, and I think I could help in that leadership. So I do trust that Danny could also do a good job, but I would still like to put myself out there as a possible candidate. But I would like to hear from Karen and or whoever made the decision to dissolve the first nominating committee and change it into the second. And I would think that a nominating committee is just that it still takes the full voting of the board to decide who the chair and vice chair are.
Yes, it does. And the nominating committee, original nominating committee dissolution decision was not a unilateral one. It was a part of a conversation. So I will speak to my role in that. So there were some irregularities with that nominating committee as it was constituted. For one thing, I was on it and had been put on it in my absence. I should not properly have been on the board, on the nominating committee. I was serving as the chair. I was the person who the report from the nominating committee would be made to, which would be me reporting to myself. And there was also a commissioner who was from the district that one of the nominees was from. And, by her own, through her conversation, we knew that she had asked to be on the nominating committee in order to be able to support a particular nomination. And it felt to me that that is not the way that we have historically constituted that nominating committee. And yes, there's a lot of gray area in the bylaws around that. So I do think we need to revisit them. But those were significant enough concerns to me that it warranted establishing a bylaws committee that was there was not any potential for undue influence or the perception of conflict, and that the chair was not a part. And so those were my concerns. And I don't know whether the others want to speak to anyone else wants to speak to what their concerns were. But I think those were sufficient enough to warrant dissolution of that nominating committee and bringing in 3 individuals who have no particular interest in any single individual. And it was a really difficult decision. I thank the nominating committee that did serve, because it was not cut and dry. It's not a situation that we have had to deal with in the past. And I think that there is potentially some language that we could adopt that would avoid the issues that the people on the nominating committee felt were sort of placed in their hands without any real direction on how to through them. I saw that Javiera and maybe someone else had a hand up, but I would go to Javiera because she was part of that conversation around why I'm comfortable with the then constitution of the nominating committee.
Thank you. From a parliamentarian standpoint, I think we need to call the vote. If the motion fails, it fails. And then I think we can proceed to further discussion. I do not think that we should be having these conversations while well, I don't know if we've accepted a motion, but at this point, we are actually also late on our vice chair and chair vote. That should have happened in the last calendar year. So I think that there's a lot of ambiguity in the bylaws. There needs to be clarified, including, is a non-voting member allowed to be on a nominating committee? I don't actually know the answer to that question. That's another thing that needs to be addressed. There's several issues that have been raised that I think are valid. I will say that City of Durham got skipped over several years ago because my time as an alternate did not count. Due to Commissioner Fowler's point, it didn't matter, right? It was who had been the most active voting member, and that's how it was rotated. Now that was a practice and not in our bylaws. And so these are the questions we need to address with the bylaws update. But I would say that we have a report from our nominating committee and we should proceed with that. And then potentially put an agenda item in the future around a bylaws discussion. We have a very lengthy agenda today. Thank you.
I would agree. And I would just add that I hope all board members understand and recognize that we all have equal votes. There is no special power in the chair or vice chair. And that if we have interests, concerns, et cetera, they are able to rise and be addressed equally across the jurisdiction. But I will hand it back over to Doug.
All right, I see Commissioner Carter has her hand up.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And I really appreciate this conversation. And I know we do want to make some decisions today, some good decisions. And I'm very excited about the quality of the candidates that are coming forward. Both candidates, I know them well. And I did want to quickly comment on, as I was the commissioner who initially did volunteer to serve on the nominating committee, as an alternate and I do want to make it clear, I did ask the question at some point, is that okay? And I think because our bylaws, as the chair and the vice chair have already pointed out, are not clear on this point, there's room for reasonable interpretations of whether that's appropriate or not. And so I do appreciate the opportunity to have provided input to that committee. I did support the chair's reconstitution of it. And I look forward to the discussion about how both we look at the bylaws going forward and about our vote today. Looking forward to that.
Great, thank you. I see Councilwoman McCullough has her hand up.
I would like to move that we accept the nominations, propose the nomination slate as proposed by the nominating committee for a vote.
Second.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by McCullough and support from Alam. Any more discussion on this motion? See, Councilor Nell, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And I appreciate y'all's patience. To Mayor Pro Tem Caballero's point, I know that we want to get to the vote here. But just since this has been in discussion, I thought I would weigh in and assure the board members who haven't been privy to every single conversation that Commissioner Fowler and I think had a really positive and constructive conversation. And I think that this, even just the necessity of updating the bylaws and moving from practice into codified bylaw, reflects organizationally where we are, sort of since moving from Durham and establishing ourselves under Central Pines and thinking really strongly over the next couple of years about our organizational structure and the way that we collaborate on that. And I just, for everybody who hasn't been able to be a part of those conversations, I think I'm really eager to work together on, I think, like the shared importance of the, sort of transparency and clarity of communication that is going to be vital here. And so I really appreciate this discussion, and I appreciate Commissioner Fowler and everybody else who has worked hard to get us here. Thank you.
All right, next I see Commissioner Carter's hand up.
Just a parliamentary question. Will we be taking nominations from the floor today?
Well, we have a motion and a support, so I believe once that
We have to call
is
the vote.
resolved, yeah. So, and lastly, Commissioner Alam, and then we'll call the vote.
Yes, sorry, I know we're trying to get through this, but I just wanted to add in, as the member of the nominating committee who served on the first nominating committee and the second one, just wanted to echo what was shared by Commissioner Howard, that yeah, it was also like a difficult situation because there was no clarity about what happens if there is a tie in the vote. And it just so happened to be that Commissioner Howard, who was the past chair of the TPO, and putting that weight of like on the chair of being the deciding factor in a split vote was made it a little bit messier. And so to be able to have a cleaner process, I would support us, moving forward with this, but also having that bylaws discussion for us to have cleaner processes in every step. That was just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I would like to point out, I dropped a note in the chat to talk about a wholesale bylaws update after we adopt the future MOU update. So let's call the roll. Mayor Pro Tem Caballero to accept
Yes.
the nominating committee.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Fowler.
So are we just accepting these nominations, or are we voting to approve those as
Fowler,
chair and
the
vice chair?
motion fails if the motion fails, then we go back to the board, but the motion has been called, and so we are going through the roll call. If you would like to, you have a choice of voting yes or no to the nominating committee. If that motion fails, then we will proceed.
I'm trying to clarify what we are approving. Are we approving the nominations or are we voting on those nominees as chair and vice chair?
We
I
are
believe we're
accepting.
voting.
Voting on
To
the
approve
slate,
them as chair
yes.
and vice chair, is that what we're approving? Then and I'll say nay.
Okay, Counselor Now,
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Alam,
Yes.
Mayor Bell,
Nay.
Board Member Mathis,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Counselor McCullough,
Yes.
Board of Trustees Member Green,
Yes.
and Counselor Rist.
Aye.
Okay. With a vote of 8-2, the motion carries. So with that, I believe I can turn the meeting over to our new chair, Mayor Pro Tem Caballero from the City of Durham.
Thank you, Doug. Good morning, everyone. We have heard a lot of robust conversation on the bylaws. I think we need to table that conversation for today. Let the chair and vice chair and Doug talk about, he's listed some order of operations, so we can expect a deeper conversation on bylaws at a forthcoming meeting. I'm going to keep us moving this morning. Thank you so much. The next agenda item I have is the report from TPO staff.
Great, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to include more information other than what's written in my report. A support letter we were requested to draft for a Federal Railroad Administration grant on behalf of the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So we've supported that application. And then I would also like to mention that we got a note yesterday from the NCDOT Department of Transportation that they are moving forward with supporting 5 non-motorized projects in Durham that were identified during Spot 3. So that's pretty exciting that we might be able to get back and re-examine those projects and see how we can wrap them up. So I think that is all of the recent and good news I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize. I have 2 different versions of the agenda in front of me, so I do need to remind folks of their ethics reminder. I do not need to read that, but that is a reminder. And then we do have several adjustments to the agenda that need to happen. I think one thing that needs to come back at a subsequent meeting is the reserve fund balance policy. We need to make an adjustment to take that up at our February meeting instead of this meeting. And I think the other question that I had was on the sorry, apologies, it's a long agenda and I'm trying to find it. I think it's the federal funding policy update. When we get to that, I don't know if we need to move it, but I had questions on where the TC landed and if we are taking action today or just getting an update.
I will clarify, we continued the item forward as an action item because that's what we presented the TC with. However, we anticipate no action on this item and leaving it for your input and then an additional round of input to work towards the finalized product in February. So
there's no action on my numbers may be wrong because I know it's been updated, but in my original, I think it was item number 26, federal funding policy update. So we are just getting an update. We are not taking action today.
Correct, but if you have input you would like to provide,
Okay,
that would
thank
be
you. No,
great.
we'll get to that. So the only adjustment that I have is to not take up the fund balance item at this one and to take it up at a subsequent meeting.
Okay. Also, I'd like to postpone until February the proposed closed session as item 28.
Thank you. So I will maybe need a little bit of help when we get those items because I know that there's several agendas with different numbered items. So I apologize ahead of time if I call the wrong thing. So those are the only adjustments to the agenda. And then
Need a motion to approve those?
I'm going to say yes, just to be safe.
Yeah. So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second, and I do have a comment if I can.
Commissioner Fowler will, I guess, are you asking for clarification or are you wanting to make an adjustment to the motion?
No, I wanted to make a comment regarding the fund balance policy that's being removed so that they can include my comment in their, when they bring it back.
Okay.
I wanted to make a recommendation that they amend the fund balance policy to include that and a sentence that states any use of fund balance for items not already included in the Triangle West TPO budget will be brought to the Triangle West TPO Advisory Board as a budget amendment.
We will prepare some
Thank you
draft
for that.
language and send it to you in advance, Dr. Fowler, to make sure it captures and is right where it needs to be in the policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the adjustments to the agenda? Oh, I have to do a voice call. Sorry, y'all. Let me get to the Commissioner Fowler,
Aye.
Council Member Now,
Aye.
Commissioner Alum,
Aye.
Mayor Bell,
Aye.
Board Member Mathis,
Aye.
Commissioner Howard, Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Board Member Green. I
Aye.
don't know what, I know you've moved boards, so I was.
Thank you. Aye.
Councilmember Rist,
Aye.
the motion carries. And I think with that, if we have any public comments for today.
I do not believe anybody has signed up for public comments.
Thank you. Doug, you gotten through your, you got through your whole report.
Well, I do have one thing to add on. It was brought
Okay,
up.
perfect.
Everybody must submit their ethics documentation. I'm not aware of any board member alternate that has already submitted them. So you'll be getting a reminder email following this meeting with connections to the appropriate documentation that we have to file with the state. So be on the lookout for that.
Thank you. I do not have any reports as chair. I do want to thank everyone who worked on the nominating committee, and we'll be circling back with folks who said that they'd maybe be interested in doing that ad hoc bylaws. So expect some assignments in the future. Next up, we have a report from TC Chair.
No report today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have our NCDOT transportation reports. Board Member Mathis, I think you are still on with us.
I sure am. I would love to give a report. I would like to start with a 2025 year in review. We focused on at NCDOT delivering projects and services in 2025 while prioritizing recovery from Hurricane Helene, which caused damage at more than 9,400 road locations, including more than 850 bridges and more than 2,000 pipes and culverts. Since then, more than 7,300 damaged sites and 560 bridges have been repaired or replaced. In 2025, NCDOT awarded about 500 contracts worth $3.1 billion for construction and maintenance. We had a lot of big project milestones, including I-26 in Henderson County, I-440 in Wake County, upgrades to a portion of 7th Interstate Standards in Johnston County. We've got the Rockingham Bypass in Richmond open now, and the Havlick Bypass, as well as the I-295 outer loop in Fayetteville. North Carolina by train ridership grew and set a monthly record of more than 74,000 passengers in October. Bus services relaunched in Asheville. A new transit service began in Chapel Hill. During the Ferry Division's 2025 season, we had more than 18,000 passengers riding on the Ocracoke Express passenger ferry, which is the highest ridership since 2022. We also hosted the National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week to emphasize roadway safety in the spring and the annual North Carolina Transportation Summit in the fall. I would like to also note that the National Work Zone Safety Awareness has spread across the country, and we're really pleased about that. I wanted to let you know that in 2025, we wrapped up our joint effort with the State Highway Patrol to recognize 23 law enforcement officers who died in the line of duty and had not previously been honored for bridge certification. This initiative was made possible with our strong partnership with the Highway Patrol, whose leadership raised concerns after hearing from families whose loved ones had been overlooked. The DMV also had a very milestone year in 2025. We celebrated our largest ever driver's license examiner graduation. We cleared a 6-month training backlog, adding nearly 150 new examiners since June. We opened new driver's license offices, such as the Garland location, and we've got more offices coming soon. The governor was able to come and be the keynote speaker at that graduation. The DMV expanded online services by implementing Senate Bill 245, enabling up to 400,000 additional online transactions, including renewals for Real ID and non-Real ID credentials and teen license upgrades. We've had more than 110,000 customers using these services in about 3 months, which reduced lines and offices and reflected a strong progress that the team has made. I want you all to deeply hear me when I say we are not done yet. We are excited about the progress that DMV has made, but we've got more work to do. We also had a wonderful, I thought that this group particularly would enjoy hearing this, multimodal committee meeting where we talked about the economic benefits and impacts of all the different modes. I thought you would be interested in hearing these numbers. So the North Carolina ferry system, which is the second largest state operated system in the nation, generated $735 million in annual economic output, supported nearly 5,900 jobs, and provided critical access for residents, workers, and visitors in 2025. Public transportation delivered 51.8 million trips in 2024. Investments in bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure yield strong returns, with every $1 spent on trail construction returning $1.72 annually in economic health and transportation benefits. Aviation has emerged as a major economic driver, with airport-related activity growing from $11.8 billion in 2006 to $88.1 billion in 2025, and supporting more than 727,000 jobs across passenger service, cargo, aerospace manufacturing, military aviation, and advanced air mobility. Rail further enhances economic development statewide by operating in 86 counties, moving millions of tons of freight, expanding passenger rail access, and supporting major private investment and job creation. It also delivers long-term benefits through high-performance rail, including travel time savings, increased property values, reduced emissions, and billions of dollars in economic output. I would be remiss if I didn't talk to everybody about the weather. I know we've all been experiencing that over the last few days. We're still trying to clean up. The freezing and the refreezing is of course going to lead to ice and of course the dreaded black ice. So please continue to let your constituents know that ice does not care what kind of vehicle you drive. It is equally dismissive of all of these vehicles. So and it also does not care what your time schedule is. So please remind everybody to still be careful out there through this deep cold that we've got, because we're still going to have problems on the road. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Do I have anyone here from Division 5 this morning? Okay. Anyone from Division 7?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Cheddar Murkowski from Division 7. I just want to give you guys a quick update on our project updates report. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it. We've made a few changes. Just like to go over those real quick. As always, we have our project updates reports divided into sections, projects under development, and then we have the projects under construction. For the projects under development, we've added a couple columns to provide more information to you guys. Those columns are latest status and next steps. We think by adding these columns, we'll be able to provide you more information about where our project status is currently at and where it's going. So that's been added to the report. If you get a chance, take a look at it. Also, on our project under construction section, we've added a comment section to that section as well, so we can provide comments to our projects that are under constructions. Again, to add more information to the report and give you guys better updates. Also, on the projects under construction, you'll see there are items highlighted, rows highlighted. Those are the completed projects, the projects that have completed construction. And that's just for easy information, easy review of which projects have been completed. And as usual, all items in red are what has been added or changed since the last report. So that's basically the changes. Advise everyone to take a look at it and see what you think and provide any comments that you may have. And of course, I take any questions that you may have on any individual projects.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Melissa.
Yes, I don't think I got the right document on my agenda, so maybe I missed something that had been sent as an amendment. But I wanted to also provide a comment unrelated to the report while we're talking Division 7. We know that this is a comment about U5304F, the widening of 15501 from I-40 to Ephesus Church Road. We know that this project is planned, and as is, it is counterproductive to Chapel Hill's plans for the area. Triangle West has had good success working in concert with DOT to meet mutual goals. And we'd like to find a way to collaborate with Division 7, like that we had success adding a bus lane to the I-40 interchange project. We know a solution is needed for the 15501 corridor, and we would like to work creatively together using DOT's own complete streets policy to advance Chapel Hill's and the MPO's goals for a BRT in this corridor, this problematic corridor, perhaps as a collaborative pilot to meet the long-term congestion solution, as well as our multimodal transportation priority and advance Chapel Hill's local economic goals as well. So I just wanted to mark this as something to work on, will be of concern to Durham in the long run as well, given your share of this corridor. And I wanted to put that on our parking lot, as it were. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for that comment. I would, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to me or send me an email or message, and I can get a hold of the project manager and maybe set up a meeting to discuss your concerns.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Melissa, can you
Thank
just say
you.
again what that project number was?
Beg pardon, Carl?
Can you say that project number again?
It is U5304F.
Gotcha.
Thank you. And I'm gonna.
So
also
that's
provide-
only the part south of 15501, but certainly the part that they're looking at north of 15501 of 40 is your bailiwick.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest Melissa and Carl, if y'all could link up, because it does affect Durham. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Next up, I have Division 8.
Oh, hold on, Javier. This is Sally Green. I had my
Oh, I'm
hand up.
sorry, I missed your hand. Yeah, if you, yeah,
Okay.
if you put your hand up and I don't see it, it's not. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just can't see it.
Okay. I want to also, on behalf of Go Triangle, register the same comments that Melissa just spoke. It's part of the Orange County Transit Plan to really be working on bus rapid transit route along that corridor. And I agree that this notion of roadway widenings or changes is counterproductive to that. So I would like also, on behalf of Go Triangle, to be included in those conversations.
Of course, yes. Same thing. If you reach out to me via email, we can get a meeting set up and have all those concerns addressed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Division 8.
Good morning, Brian Kluchar. Hope you all are doing well. There are no changes to the project update. Be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Next up, I have Transportation Planning Division.
Good morning. This is
Good morning.
Julie Bogle. I have one update regarding NEVI funding. So the North Carolina Department of Transportation has been certified by the Federal Highway Administration as having its alternative fuel corridors fully built out under the revised NEVI guidance issued in October 2025. And the revised guidance allows existing NEVI compliance stations to count toward certified, fully built out. So despite the certification, NCDOT is proposing to fund the build out of additional stations along these corridors to provide more robust EV charging network. And NCDOT will be releasing NEVI Round 2 requests for proposals in the first quarter of 2026. So to support that planning for that funding, NCDOT has released an updated GIS-based map showing the proposed locations for 16 new charging stations. And I will send out information and links to these maps. And that's it.
You.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Traffic Operations. Good morning. Not sure if John Grant is with us this morning or not from Traffic Operations.
Don't see him.
Okay, thank you. The next NCDOT report I have is from Integrated Mobility Division. Good morning. Yeah, not sure if we see Brian Lopez.
Brian is not online.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have our consent agenda. I'm just gonna, because it's been renumbered and also items are being referred back, I am just going to name them so that we're all on the same page. Under the consent agenda, I have item number 10, approving November 18th, 2025 board minutes. I have number 11, TIP accelerated amendment number 3. Number 12, FY 2025 UPWP administrative modification number 3. Number 13, FY 2026 UPWP amendment 2. Number 14, FY 2027 UPWP Amendment 1. Number 15, request for additional funding for C-5181. Number 16 is being, we will take up at our February meeting. Number 17, continuity of operations plan. Number 18, local input methodology update. And that is all. So could I get a motion for our consent agenda, adoption of our consent agenda?
So moved, Fowler.
Second, Mel.
Second, Rist.
Thank you. Gonna go down our list. Commissioner Fowler,
Aye.
Councilmember Now,
Aye.
Commissioner Alum, Mayor Bell.
Aye.
Board Member Mathis,
Aye.
Commissioner Howard, Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Councilmember Rist.
Aye.
Okay, I think that motion carries. Next up on under informational items, just number 19 is our annual ethics filing.
Hi, this is Samad Ranganwala. I'm the ethics liaison for the TPO board. Just echoing what Doug had mentioned earlier about the annual ethics filing, you guys have until April 15th to do that filing. If you're already on our board last year, it should be a pretty simple, like short process. I'm going to send out a PDF with all the information that you'll need after the meeting. Feel free to reach out to me or Colleen if you have any questions. We'll be sending follow-up emails to make sure you guys meet that deadline, because afterwards you do start to get a fine, and we want to avoid that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. After that, I have our strategic plan implementation update. Good morning. Drew Finley is who's listed on the agenda.
Let me check in with that. We may be ahead of where they thought they would be.
Okay.
So if we could skip over that and we'll go to
Item
item
number 21. Okay.
Yeah.
FY 27 Durham Transit Work Program update. I have Brandy Miner and Ellen Beckman from Durham County here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. But I also have Curtis Scarpignato, transportation planner for Durham County, if you can make sure that he also is able to speak. So good morning. Thanks for having us. This is an informational presentation on the current status of the development of the FY 27 work program. Durham County staff are the lead agency for developing the work program every year. And Brandy Miner is our staff working group administrator, and she will be starting off this presentation. Brandy, are you able to? Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good morning. As Ellen mentioned, my name is Brandy Miner. I'm the staff working group administrator. If you could advance to the next slide, please. In 2011, Durham County voters approved a half-cent sales tax to fund public transportation improvements that expand the quality of service within Durham County and provide greater regional connectivity to the rest of the Triangle. The Durham County Transit Plan, which was updated and adopted in 2023, determines how these public transportation funds within Durham County will be managed and spent. The Transit Plan was approved by the Durham Board of County Commissioners, the Go Triangle Board of Trustees, and the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization in the spring of 2023. Next slide, please. The work program is the annual budget for the transit plan. and its primary goal is to advance the projects in the adopted plan. It is developed in coordination with our transit partners over a period of about 10 months. As Staff Working Group Administrator, I am tasked with presenting the work program to the governing boards for approval. Approval of the work program is required by the County Commissioners and the Go Triangle Board of Trustees. Next slide, please. Sorry. Excuse me. The Transit Governance Interlocal Agreement, which was also adopted in 2023, establishes the duties and responsibilities of the Staff Working Group. The Staff Working Group is a technical committee serving in an advisory role to the three governing boards. The Staff Working Group primarily includes staff from Durham County, Go Triangle, City of Durham, and Triangle West TPO. We are tasked with coordinating the planning and implementation of the annual work program and the multi-year vision plan. There are 4 voting members, 1 from each organization, who collectively determine which items, such as the work program and any related amendments, should be advanced to the governing boards for approval. Approval of any item before the Staff Working Group requires a minimum of 3 affirmative votes. While the preferred approach is to achieve consensus before advancing items for board consideration, items may be referred to the governing board if consensus cannot be reached. Next slide, please. This pie chart represents the funding priorities of the transit plan. The work program generally maintains the priorities of the transit plan, but in the FY26 work program, there were some minor shifts. Most notably, the operations and maintenance category increased by 5%, and the enhance and extend bus service category increased by 2%. Next slide, please. On this next slide, we have provided an overview of the FY26 work program budget, which is approximately $55 million. The half-cent sales tax, our primary revenue source, is projected at $44 million. The combined $3 and $7 registration fees are expected to generate approximately $2.5 million, and approximately $8.5 million will be drawn from the fund balance to maintain a balanced budget. On the expenditure side, the majority of funding is allocated to the City of Durham and Go Triangle. However, it is important to note that some projects, such as the Durham Bus Stop Improvement Program, provide benefits to other agencies and are not exclusive to the project sponsor. Next slide, please. Due to better than forecasted revenue growth since the adoption of the transit plan, additional revenues have been programmed to expand bus services more quickly and extensively, increase funding for the maintenance facilities, and support additional staffing needs. The CIP increased overall by $83 million, to include $39 million for vehicle acquisition for Go Durham and Go Triangle, and $45 million for transit infrastructure, including $22.5 million to the Faith Street Bus Operations Maintenance Facility and $10 million for BRT development. On the operating side, it increased by $50 million to include $12.2 million for transit plan administration and staffing, and also $36 million for transit operations. That includes $4.6 million for fare support and $24.8 million for service expansion. Next slide, please. The annual work program process includes an updated revenue forecast. Growth in our largest revenue source, which is the half-cent sales tax, has slowed significantly. The Tax District Administration is currently proposing a $44 million forecast for the half-cent sales tax, which is about $1.1 million less than the original financial model projection. The Tax District will provide a final revenue projection, which will be published in the final recommended work program. Next slide, please. As of November—
Do the next slide. We're one off right now.
Oh, we're one off? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
There we go.
There we go. My apologies. As of November 2025, the fund balance in the Durham Transit Plan is $206 million. After accounting for restricted revenues and previously encumbered funds tied to the adopted projects, the current excess liquidity is $110 million, which is available to fund FY26 and future projects. Next slide, please. Okay. This slide illustrates our financial model through fiscal year 2040, including the updated revenue forecast, the standard 2.5% annual increase for operating projects, and no changes to the current CIP. The current projection shows a low point of $14.2 million in fiscal year 35. We are required to maintain at least $10 million in excess liquidity per our adopted financial policy. The Durham Transit Plan can fulfill all the current commitments in the CIP and the multi-year operating program, but there is very little capacity for new requests this year. If we were to adopt the status quo budget, we would have about $4.2 million available to fund new projects. It is important to note that this model assumes debt based on a rail project. Debt based on a BRT project would have a shorter useful life and reduce the liquidity. Next slide, please. For FY27, we received several proposals from our partners that will have a significant impact on the budget. The items highlighted in pink represent funding requests that would have potentially been evaluated as part of a transit plan amendment, as funding has not been identified in the current plan. As proposed, these requests include the following: $64.7 million for the Go Durham maintenance facilities, $22 million for the Fayetteville Road TEC, up to $2.2 million annually for fare-free transit support, and I should note that this increase is only for Go Durham, $2.3 million annually for Go Durham and Go Triangle transit operations, which includes $1 million for the City of Durham and $1.3 million for Go Triangle, $279,000 for the City of Durham staffing, $200,000 for the Go Durham Transit Asset Management Database, which is a one-time expense, and $75,000 for Go Triangle staff cost share changes. Durham County also submitted a $650,000 request to update the transit plan, which is required to be updated every 4 years per our ILA. We also submitted a one-time request to develop a database to improve the work program development process. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, this is Sally Green. I have a question about that slide. If you could go back.
Sure.
On the Go Durham fare support, it also says, and Go Triangle TAP, which is the fare subsidy for low-income people. But I thought you said that would only be going to Go Durham. Is there no support to Go Triangle?
So the increase, the $2.2 million, so we fund both of their projects, the city's DINE program and then Go Triangle's TAP program. So the TAP program would continue on with the standard 2.5 increase, but on the Go Durham side, they requested an increase of $2.2 million. So we're still funding both, but yeah, the increase is just for Go Durham.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So given the influx of the new funding requests, we currently do not have a sustainable financial model. The model is projected to enter a deficit in FY28, reaching a low point of negative $140 million in FY37. Since we are required to maintain at least $10 million in excess liquidity, we would need to identify at least $150 million to have a viable model. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I think we're 2 slides off now again.
Yeah, we're 2 slides off, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ellen. We reviewed the model, the MIOP, and the CIP to determine what funding we have available. Unencumbered and unreserved fund balance is already included in the model, as well as any excess future forecasted revenues. There is an opportunity to delay or cancel several future projects to free up funding. There are 6 capital projects totaling $98.4 million and 3 operating projects totaling $14.2 million that have been identified for potential delay or cancellation. We could also revise the Quick and Reliable Regional Connections placeholder, which will be discussed later in the presentation. Next slide, please. And I will turn it over to Curtis.
Great, thank you, Brandy. So as Brandy mentioned, we have this Quick and Reliable Regional Transportation Connections placeholder in the 2023 Durham Transit Plan. This placeholder originally came out of the 2017 Durham Transit Plan, which had allocated 85%. of funding for light rail and commuter rail. So that was already a pretty substantial change from the previous plan. And a lot of that increased funding for other categories went towards expanding bus service, as mentioned earlier. There has been some interest from some of our transit partners in reducing the funding for quick and reliable regional connections. And just to clarify on what this category is, at this point in time, we are expecting most of this funding to go towards bus rapid transit BRT style projects, maybe a little bit of rail too, but mostly bus rapid transit projects. And we expect to have better information on what the funding in this bucket will go towards with the conclusion of the Durham County-led Bus Rapid Transit Vision Plan and with the Durham City-led Central Durham BRT project. All right, next slide. So the Durham Bus Rapid Transit Vision Plan will identify and evaluate and prioritize 6 corridors across Durham County for bus rapid transit BRT level investment over the next 30 years. That is in addition to the Central Durham BRT. And just as a quick high-level overview of BRT, bus rapid transit BRT includes high-frequency service with fewer stops, enhanced vehicle and station amenities for passengers, traffic signal prioritization technology so that buses get green lights faster, and dedicated bus lanes where feasible. And you can see an initial map here on the right of some of the corridors we've been evaluating. You can expect that there'll be a presentation with more detail on this study in the coming months as we go through that analysis. And we anticipate the Bus Rapid Transit BRT Vision Plan being adopted as a transit plan amendment in the fall of 2026. Next slide. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ellen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. In summary, as described at the beginning of this presentation, since the adoption of the 23 Transit Plan, the annual work program has programmed funding to advance the implementation of the adopted plan. And we've had several years of better than forecasted revenue growth that allowed us to fund more projects, fund them at a higher amounts, and advance operating projects to be implemented more quickly. Unfortunately, this year, sales tax revenues are projected to decrease from the previous forecast. The positive news is that the status quo model shows that we can continue to fulfill all of the current commitments in the work program and the future projects that are in the transit plan and CIP and multi-year operating program. We've made a lot of changes to the format of the work program, and we're proud that it does make it very clear what has been adopted on the project sheets and in the CIP. Those project sheets are also approved by the project sponsors in the project agreements. So as of what we currently know, the status quo model is viable. However, we've received many costly requests this year, and the modeling shows those cannot be accommodated this year unless we chose to cancel, reduce, or delay projects that are in the CIP and multi-year operating program, including potentially the placeholder for bus rapid transit. Next slide. So we provided this presentation to the 2 boards that approve the work program, the Board of Commissioners and the Go Triangle Board of Trustees Audit and Finance Committee for their feedback. Because if there is an interest in a transit plan amendment, it would cause us to change our schedule, and it would require the approval of the Triangle West board. If we have to cancel or delay planned projects or make major changes to the planned investment scenarios, that would be in conflict with the adopted plan. So we wanted to do these presentations to get feedback early in the process to determine whether or not we wanted to go in that direction. We have not had to do a transit plan amendment since the adoption of the 23 plan because we've had better than expected revenue growth. And historically, when funding's been available, we've been able to add or increase projects without affecting other projects. This work program also includes some policy issues. The fare support requests, such as DIME and TAP, were not in the 23 plan. So they're considered pilot projects. Those amounts have increased from the original approvals, and they have the potential to continue to increase. they are operating subsidies for the existing transit service. And as all of y'all know who manage transit services, operating costs have been increasing. And so the project sponsors are seeking additional funding to offset those increased operating costs. So this is an area where we did not adopt it in the 23 plan, and we desire to have a long-term decision and a sustainable budget established for this. The capital project cost increases are also very significant, and again, capital projects are continuing to increase, as everyone knows, and have the potential to continue to increase. Next slide.
Lisa, I'm sorry, this is Sally Green. It's my day to keep interrupting people, but you said it had gone to the Go Triangle Audit and Finance Committee. I'm not on that committee, so I don't know. Could you report what they said?
Yes, I can actually. We added a slide, but I think it didn't get in this version of the presentation. But I will speak to that right now. So what's up here is slightly incorrect. We needed to update that. We did provide this update to the Board of Commissioners on January 5th, and then we provided that update to the Go Triangle Board of Trustees Audit and Finance Committee on January 14th. And the feedback we got, so at the Board of Commissioners, there were several comments from commissioners regarding the submitted proposals and draft work program. There was no support for pursuing a transit plan amendment. The Board of Commissioners directed staff to not include any changes in the draft work program that would require a transit plan amendment. There was not support for reducing funding for quick and reliable regional connections. The Board of Commissioners directed staff to continue to maintain the current funding as shown in the financial model. The Board of Commissioners asked that we, evaluate proposals for the current funding that's available. So we are proceeding with that baseline status quo budget as a draft and looking at the, roughly $4 million available in that baseline budget. So there were also a lot of questions about funding for the city's capital projects, specifically the maintenance facilities and the Fayetteville Road project. And there was interest in pursuing a future potential sales tax increase. So when we presented to the Go Triangle Audit and Finance Committee on January 14th, we did not receive any directives by the members of that committee. We did receive a memo from the Go Triangle CEO with a revised FY27 proposal for the Go Triangle projects. All right, so that's what we received at those updates. Our process now is that it goes to the staff working group to develop that draft work program. The staff working group will vote to release that on February 18th. It's released for public comment at the end of February for, I think, a 21-day public comment period. We will then present back that draft to the Board of Commissioners and Go Triangle Board in March. The staff work group will finalize the work program in April, and then that goes to the Board of Commissioners and the Go Triangle Board in May and June for approval. And that concludes our presentation. We can take any questions.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Rist. Is there anyone else with their hand up that I don't see? I don't want to miss anyone. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Rist.
Ellen and staff, thanks so much for the presentation. There's obviously tremendous transit needs in Durham, and we appreciate the Durham County Transit Plan funding so much interesting stuff right now and for the future in Durham. My question is, so I've got a bunch of questions. I guess my first question is, you mentioned maintenance facilities, and I want to make sure I understand what the investment you talked about, is that in the current maintenance facilities, or is that sort of an expanding capacity? As I understand, there is, as Durham has been adding buses in the past several years, I think added like 15 or 17 buses. As I understand, we're getting close to capacity at our maintenance facilities and need more capacity to both service the buses we're adding, but also ultimately to have the capacity to service bus rapid transit vehicles. So I just want to understand better, you know, what's in the plan in terms of expanding that maintenance facility so we can serve the buses we have, but also be in position to service the buses, maintain the buses that we'll be adding for bus rapid transit.
Yeah. So on the maintenance facilities, the 2023 plan only included $5 million for the Go Durham maintenance facilities, with the statement that other funding sources would need to be pursued. And we did that. You know, nobody thought that the projects would cost $5 million, but
I mean,
there was.
It's going to cost more, right?
Yeah. So there was definitely an understanding that that was not fully funding the projects, and that other funding sources would need to be pursued to fully fund the projects. And we did that in part because of feedback from city staff that wanted us to prioritize operating expansion more quickly and faster and at a higher level. So that's what was in the adopted 23 plan. Now, the last few years, as funding was available in the work program, we increased that. Like Brandy mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, a lot of that increased revenue went towards the maintenance facilities. In the current work program, there's two projects, one for the paratransit maintenance facility, which I believe has $5 million of transit plan funding, and then one for the bus maintenance facility, which has $25 million of transit plan funding. So we went from 5 million total to 30 million total. And it's in two projects because based on the way I understand the city's plan, it is to move the access paratransit maintenance facility out of Fay Street onto a separate property and then use some of that freed up space to expand the bus maintenance facility. And I know that the transit plan has paid for the city's acquisition of a new site for that paratransit maintenance facility. So some of that money that the transit plan has dedicated to that project has already been spent. So that, I guess that is what is in our current work program. The project sheets, you know, in increasing that from 5 million to 30 million, did still acknowledge that it wasn't fully funding the projects. Those sheets do have a statement that the transit plan anticipates funding 50% of the cost, and that the remaining 50% of the costs were the responsibility of the city of Durham, which could be federal or local funding. So we do hope that we can work cooperatively with the city to try to identify some of that additional funding. I think I hope that federal funding is an option, or maybe some of the state swap money. You know, that's further on in this agenda, or I guess maybe it was removed. No, it's the federal funding policy is on there for an update only, right? That's the action y'all took. So that's a potential funding source. And, you know, there may be other funding sources as well that could contribute towards the cost.
Thanks, Ellen. Appreciate that further explanation. I mean, obviously that funding piece is going to be, that's not going to be tomorrow. That's funding we'll need to get over the next several years, right? So we don't need to do that all at once. I guess my question was whether we have I know that staff talked about the need for additional funds, at least initially, just to design those facilities. And I want to make sure that funding is in the budget so we at least can get the design process moving forward as we think about how do we sort of access the funds we need in addition to what the transit plan has provided to really fund those maintenance facilities going forward.
Yeah.
I put
okay,
it.
go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I've had a lot of conversations with city staff on this, and we do want to make sure we understand the schedule and the needs and have that mapped out in the work program accurately.
So is that a conversation we need to continue having between city and county, or how do we move forward on that?
Yeah, I think we do need more information and more discussion on it.
Okay, thanks. Chair, I don't know if that's something we can take up on the Durham side of things, or how you want to proceed on that.
Yeah, we'll follow up after this meeting and see what further conversations we need to have. I see I put it in the chat, but Commissioner Alam and then Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Chair Caballero. Yes, I wanted to just chime in here for the county side. For me as a commissioner, and I think our entire board was kind of like aligned with this view, is that this transit tax dollars that were implemented back in 2011, they were really put into place and put before voters to approve this transit tax for major projects like bus rapid transit, passenger rail, and then also like would have gone to, projects like light rail if they had moved forward. And the concern being that if we move away from those type of large scale projects and move our transit tax dollars into those, into other projects that they weren't initially like intended for when we put it before voters, that we're gonna fall even further behind on larger transit projects. Like we're already 10 years behind on bus rapid transit. I'm sure at the city level, y'all get these conversations also that we hear from residents that the city of Raleigh has bus rapid transit. Why isn't Durham? And, moving funds from these major projects to fill in gaps that exist at the city level around the maintenance facilities is going to put us even further behind. That we as like a board of commissioners see the need and urgency of investment in the maintenance facilities, and that's why we actually, I don't know if the whole board, but I'll speak for myself, and then Commissioner Jacobs is here, she could speak for herself too, would also be interested in exploring like additional transit tax for the city to be able to utilize for their maintenance costs that would have to go to the state legislature, obviously, for approval. But that's something that maybe we can talk about at our next joint city county meeting, as well as we have our upcoming legislative priority goal meetings. And also Chairwoman Caballero, maybe this would also be a good space for us. We had those collaborative meetings with our two, like I think it was you and Councilmember Rist, as well as me and Commissioner Jacobs, and then our transit staff, that we can kind of re-up those and bring them back so we can have more detailed conversations about how we as city county government can collaborate more effectively on transit without impeding our long-term goals of mass transit infrastructure.
Thank you, Commissioner Alam. Commissioner Jacobs?
Yeah, I'll just to add to what Commissioner Alam has said, I think what's really important to understand here is that we adopted this transit plan to be through 2030. I'm sorry, Ellen, remind me, it's through 2040, or Brandy,
2040.
Is that correct? 2040. So it is a plan that we have adopted. We have a financial model. And so even if we wanted to make major changes, which would include actually, if you go back to that slide, $98 million worth of investments in improving bus service in Durham. There are lots of different routes there that are slated for improvements. We would, if we were going to make those changes by shifting money to the operations and maintenance facility, it will require us to go through a whole process of actually changing our plan. And so I just want to emphasize that our board feels it's very important to stick to our plan and that everything that's in the plan, the good news is everything that's in the plan can still be funded. And I think it's important to keep that in perspective. And we want to be ready when, for instance, the Central Durham BRT planning is done. We want to be able to implement that. And that's also a priority of the MTP. And we have greatly reduced the amount of money that we are putting into things like BRT and rail. Just to go, if you go back to that pie chart, we're now just down to 26% of funding for these big infrastructure projects, where originally in 2017, we were at 85% of our funding for that. And Wake County has 45% of their funding for BRT and rail. So again, we really don't want to sacrifice BRT, and which is, I think, really relevant for the MTP and for our TPO to think about. But so I think what we've heard already from Carl and from NIDA is that we need to get our staffs together, and we need to work together on, obviously, what are some other ways to come up with money for transportation and transit beyond what is available. So I'll just stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs, Commissioner Green, and then Councilmember Rist.
Thank you. I really appreciate Commissioner Alam and Commissioner Jacobs, what you both just said about keeping our eye on the big picture that the transit tax was implemented for in Durham County as well as Orange and Wake counties. And I'll note that this proposal has, while it did go to the one committee of Go Triangle, it has not gone to the whole board. And I am confident that the whole board would take the same position that Commissioners Jacobs and Alam have just stated, because we spend so much time talking about the importance of really keeping our vision focused on at least BRT. We know that commuter rail is not happening. We have some ideas about regional rail. Light rail is not in the picture, but we are very hopeful for BRT, and for all the reasons y'all stated, I would hate for it to dropped out at this point. And I understand that there are serious financial constraints, to which I'll add that on the Orange County Transit Plan side, last time we updated it, which was 4 years ago, we too are very financially constrained in what we can do with our transit tax money. So we put particular plans for using the money that we anticipated with the existing funding streams, but we also made sure we had another section in there that, like Commissioner Jacobs said, outlined a vision of what we want to see, so that we can be ready with that vision in place when we do have the funding in place for it. So, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rist.
I'll be quick. I know we want to have other issues we need to get to. Just to say thanks for all the comments from Commissioner Jacobs and Alam, and also Commissioner Green. I think the issue is that we've got a lot of transit needs in Durham, and I appreciate the transit plan, the plan you have there. We don't want to sort of upend the plan. At the same time, I think the concern is that this maintenance facility is actually what's needed to actually achieve our goals with bus rapid transit, so that we can't ignore that maintenance need as well. So I think these are all things we got to balance. I think ultimately, we're going to need some new revenue in Durham. And I think part of the political challenge we have is that, I think we'd like to aspire to what Mecklenburg has done and actually add to our transit tax. I think it'll be difficult to do that if we show for the next several years going forward serious liquidity in that transit fund. And so I think if people see dollars in there, I think they expect us to use the dollars. And so one way that we can make the case for additional transit funds for Durham County for our voters is to show that we're using the money as we can, as wisely as we can, to both meet the needs we have currently, but also to plan for those future big investments we all want to have in Durham County Transit. So I'll leave it at that. But I look forward to talking about this at a joint city county committee or other venue in Durham to really dig in on these critical needs, both for the short term and long term. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's comments. Just real briefly, I look forward to furthering conversations. I think the maintenance facility limitations will limit anything else in the plan as far as BRT is concerned. And I am actually very interested to see what our counterparts in Wake and Mecklenburg have done on the funding of facilities and see if we can emulate some of those models if they're useful and helpful. I'm going to keep us moving. I think we are ready for, go ahead, Commissioner Lum.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I know we got to keep moving. Just wanted to add, I completely agree and understand like the burdens of the maintenance facilities. I think what would be helpful for us at the county side is to see a long-term strategic plan from the city about the maintenance plans and facilities, because again, like for the shortfalls and like gaps of if this transit tax dollar didn't exist, like what was the city's plan for maintenance facilities expansions and needs? Because again, like this tax was implemented for other purposes. So I understand those needs, but also I think it's important for the city to have a long-term strategic plan that doesn't fall back on, well, the county has this transit tax that exists. We can just dip into that if we fall behind. So if the city can maybe at our next TPO meeting or joint city county meeting provide their long-term strategy around maintenance and expansions. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just name that one of the big limitations in general is that Durham and probably Orange, and I was on the TPO when we did this, the governance structure of the Triangle West TPO is fundamentally different than the governance structure of Wake County. And so I'm going to lift that up again for those folks who weren't part of the TPO at that time. And it called from some pretty, and it's going to come into question on some of these MOU updates that we're trying to implement, on funding policies that we're trying to implement. And so I just want to name that because in that governance structure subcommittee that I think is now probably 4 years old, and Councilmember Reese was one of the voting members at that time. So we have to think about how many years ago. And we neglected to really implement the same governance structure, which I think is one of the reasons Wake has been, I mean, obviously a lot more money, but they have been successful in a lot of ways that Durham, quite frankly, hasn't. And so I think that when we have these conversations, it's worth going back to see what were some of the recommendations from that governance structure. There were some mild modifications, but not what was what the question really called for. So I'm going to keep us moving. I look forward to having conversations with commissioners and city and county staff and probably TPO staff. I think our Fountainworks folks are here. So I'm going to backtrack us just one agenda item to agenda item number 20.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Bo Mills. I'm with Fountainworks. We have been supporting Triangle West in your strategic planning and strategic work. I'm joined by Drew Finley, who is going to, I think, take control of this PowerPoint deck. And just to remind you where we are, we've worked with you all on a strategic plan. We came up with our 6 focus areas. There was a special sub-working group of your board members that discussed and proposed some focus area measures of success, which is, of course, as you know, how you measure your work is often where you focus your energy. So coming up with those measures of success is very important. We got that information we're going to present to you. The process is that you propose those measures of success. Your staff actually reviewed those as a team, their senior leadership team, and they were able to confirm and actually add to some of those measures of success. Today, we're going to review where we are with that. You'll have a chance sometime this spring, and Doug will confirm that for me. But I think the plan is this spring, you'll have a chance to formally agree to those measures of success. Our purpose here, and we'll be as brief as possible given your time constraints, is just to quickly review those measures of success and maybe take 1 or 2 key questions, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair, and we'll move from there. But the purpose today is a quick update, FYI. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask Drew Finley on our team at Fountainworks to sort of walk through those measures of success. Drew?
Yes, thank you, Bo. And can I get a confirmation that you all can see the screen that I'm sharing and that you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, on both.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Again, my name is Drew Finley. I'm Senior Project Manager with Fountain Works, and excited to, as Bo noted, briefly share the strategic plan success measures as they currently stand for Triangle West. And as Bo mentioned, the success measures correspond to the 6 strategic focus areas that you all have as Triangle West. So you see those in front of you there. That covers everything from repair and maintenance of infrastructure to collaboration with partners to community engagement. You see all of the 6 strategic focus areas there. We presented the strategic plan to you all late last year, so we know that you all are familiar with those focus areas. And what we are going to briefly do is just go through each of these focus areas and highlight the success measures that have been developed. And as Bo mentioned, I think the key thing that is reflected here with the updates to these success measures is that we were able to have a conversation with Triangle West's leadership team to really operationalize and get more specific on some of these success measures so that they connect to the day-to-day work that staff is doing. So marrying that strategy with day-to-day work. As far as for state of infrastructure repair and maintenance, which is the first focus area, the 2 main success measures there are developing a dashboard for monitoring conditions of infrastructure, pavement condition, and roads, and producing a biannual, which is every 2 years, infrastructure condition report. And so those are the 2 key areas there, obviously monitoring progress with what happens for the state of that infrastructure. For fulfilling our required functions, there are obviously quite a few for this one because it's a key focus area for making sure that you all as a transportation planning organization are on track and doing everything that you're legally required and expected to do. So these success measures cover things like submission of materials to DOT, financial compliance, the fund balance policy that was mentioned earlier, which I believe is coming back to you all in February. And also things like the certification process that is going on now through the federal agencies and completing all of your key plans on time. The third focus area, which is strengthen collaboration with partners. These arrows in particular are a great example of where we got some specificity from staff of how we're going to actually do some of these goals. So for example, with tracking the number of partnerships that the organization forms, we knew that we wanted to do that. You all as the board emphasized that it was important to do that. We were able to meet with staff and get some more specificity on how to do that. So things like developing a brief survey with a QR code that can be distributed to partners and leveraging the public input software that you all have to really track who participates in things like special studies and denoting if they're new partners. So a more systematic and organized way to track those collaborations with partners is what staff brought to that one, in addition to things like convening regular meetings with the jurisdictions, as you see there at the bottom. The next focus area is focused on strengthening engagement in legislative dialogue and policy updates. So that obviously includes engaging with relevant legislative bodies and developing a coordinated lobbying effort. There's efforts underway to do that as well. And as you see with tracking the number of policy updates, very similar to the previous focus area of tracking progress in a systematic way, as well as engaging with allied industry associations, real estate, business, et cetera, to really cement you all's position as a community partner beyond just the transportation realm. And along those same lines with community engagement and education, the key success measures there are that you all are engaging the very diverse population that you all have, defined by in you all's different plans that you have for how your diverse population is defined within Triangle West service area. So communicating and engaging with the community in an accessible manner is the key success measures there. once again, tracking the number of engagements. So having a systematic way to do that so that it can be tracked over time, and explaining the whys and benefits to the community is one thing that you all emphasized, as far as making sure that the public is bought in and supportive and excited about what you all are doing. The final focus area is transportation system resiliency. So although these are 2 success measures, they are both quite large and substantial. So identifying transportation infrastructure and organizational resiliency gaps in your key plans, MTP, CMP, Vision Zero, things like that, as well as creating an organizational resiliency plan and tracking progress towards completing that plan. So that's a big area for you all, resiliency is, and so that reflects your 6th and final focus area and the success measures that go along with that. And so that is a brief overview of the success measures. As Bo mentioned, we're anticipating in the future that in the near future that there will be a specific focused time for us to discuss these success measures in more detail, and we're looking forward to doing that with you all. But at this time, we'd be happy to take any immediate comments or questions that you may have.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well done, Drew.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any hands up, but maybe I'm missing someone. Commissioner Fowler and then Commissioner Jacobs.
I was just going to say, I very much appreciate, this continued development of the strategic plan and filling it out with these important items of most important to actually be able to track our performance. So I appreciate that. And then I think the next step beyond that, perhaps for the board and executive members of, is taking which ones of these particular items then are used as, measures for measuring how well the executive director is doing in our yearly, evaluations and compensation discussions.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciated the memo going into detail about the follow-up. I'm just wondering who, this is more for Doug, who is going to be, or how is the plan going to actually be implemented? Will there be like a certain person on staff who that's their job? Because I think we all have developed strategic plans that then just kind of sit there. So I think my key question is how is this actually going to be done?
That's an excellent question. I think a lot of this stuff really needs to be part of our DNA, period. But also, we are trying to pick some measures or guide measures towards opportunities for very visibly displaying how we're measuring them, and using infographics or other data visualization to very publicly and forward-facing share a lot of this information. We do have some systemic things that we can do better than we've done in the past, like, the annual report we need to submit to FHWA and FTA that includes our financial summaries and that sort of thing. So I don't know that right away there will be a very specific person. I would absolutely like the position that the board has agreed to fund for a principal level communications or information officer, to have this implementation and communication part of their work plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep us moving. We have several action items. Next up is item number 22, Destination 2055 MTP Draft Report Public Hearing. Good morning. I have lots of folks listed, so I'm not sure who is.
Yes, good morning. My name is Monet Moore. I'll be presenting on the MTP or Destination 2055. Good morning. So I am just going to provide a brief update, and then we'll be able to open it for public hearing. And I am trying to share my screen, so please confirm if you all can see it.
I can't. Oh, here it goes. Okay.
So good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Monet Moore. I'm a principal planner with Triangle West, and I am here to provide a brief update on where we are with the MTP, or Destination 2055, prior to opening up for a public hearing this morning. So just a little background for the MTP update process. We are at your far right for the final plan. So on January 9th, we released the draft report of the final MTP document, along with the air quality conformity determination report for public review. You can find that on the Destination 2055 NC website. So what you see is that we've gone through our vision and goals. We've done our analysis and evaluation. We've also completed our preferred option, and now we are at the final plan. So again, we opened up for public comments on January 9th of this month for both of those documents, those final report documents, and then also the air quality conformity determination report. This morning, we are hosting the public hearing for both of those two documents, and then our public hearing, or our public comments period, will close on the 24th. And then at that next meeting, or the meeting that we will see you all next at, which will be in the month of February, is where we will be moving to adopt both Destination 2055 and then also adopting the air quality conformity determination report that goes with the MTP. And so with that, I would like to turn it back over to our chairperson and be able to open a public hearing for anyone who is here to comment on that, on either of those two final documents.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to provide any public comment on this item?
We need to move to open the public hearing.
Oh, thank you. I move to open the public hearing. Or can I have a motion to move the public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Nowell.
Thank you. And I have to do this. Sorry, y'all, because we're online. Okay, Commissioner Fowler,
Aye.
Councilmember Now.
Aye.
Commissioner Lum,
Aye.
Mayor Bell, Board Member Mathis.
Aye.
Commissioner Howard. Okay, Councilmember McCullough.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Councilmember Rist.
Aye.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here that is signed up to speak or asking to speak? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing. And unless there's question, do any board members have any questions?
No, other than do we need to make a motion to move that to close the public hearing?
Well, yeah, I don't think we need a motion to, at least on our council, we don't need a motion to close it. The public hearing's just been closed, but I don't know parliamentary procedures for here. I'm just doing it the way we do it on our council. So are there any questions from the board? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to keep us going. Next item is item number 23, Safety Transportation Performance Measure Target CY 2026. I have two folks here potentially presenting.
Yeah, good morning. This is David Miller. Let me share my screen.
Good morning.
All right. Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds good. So good morning, everyone. My name is David Miller, and I'm a planner with Triangle West. And we are joined today by Brian Murphy and Matt Albee from the NC DOT Traffic Safety Unit. And we are here to present on our annual transportation performance measures and target setting for safety. And the requested action is for the board to adopt safety targets for 2026. So here is our agenda for this item. We'll share a background on target setting, explore some of the regional safety data trends. We'll share our target approaches and options for 2026. We're going to highlight some of the safety resources that NCDOT has made available for our planning, as well as highlight some of the planning and coordination that we've been doing at Triangle West, as well as some of our MPO members, and then open the floor for discussion and questions. So beginning with the background, safety is one of the performance measures MPOs are required to set and adopt targets for. This is a federal requirement. The MPO board last adopted our safety targets in January of 2025, and we must set targets for number of fatalities and fatality rates, number of serious injuries and serious injury rate, and then the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So safety target setting will look a little bit different for Triangle West for 2026 compared to years past, and I'll provide a little bit of background and context. So the MPO board has always endorsed and adopted the NCDOT safety targets that have been presented during these annual adoption cycles. This is consistent with other MPOs around the state, but over the last few board and technical committee meetings where we've discussed safety targets, discussion led Triangle West staff to explore developing our own short-term targets. And so we did this as part of our regional Vision Zero action plan, which the board adopted in April of 2025. In that plan, we have an adopted long-term goal of reducing fatalities and serious injuries by half by 2035, moving towards zero by 2050. And I will note that this is also a shared goal with NCDOT, but we also have the opportunity here today through this annual cycle to adopt short-term targets, which we're also directed to do as part of our Vision Zero plan. So for this item, we will be presenting the targets that NCDOT have developed for consideration, and we will be presenting 3 additional targets that the TPO has developed. So since this is a new approach that we're taking this year, a few things to think about are, should these targets be more aggressive and aspirational, or should they be more conservative and achievable? So now I'm going to turn it over to Brian and Matt to get us started on the safety data trends.
Yeah, thanks, David. My name is Brian Murphy. I work with the traffic safety unit, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit this morning on safety data trends. Next slide, David. And I'm going to be very brief. There's a lot of information in your package. I'm not going to go over that in the interest of time. Looking at the clock, I realize we don't have a lot of time for this item. So next slide, David. So I will speak just about one item at the statewide level. That's our strategic highway safety plan. So this is the document at the state level that kind of sets the plan for how the state will tackle traffic safety issues. It's not just NCDOT. This is representation by a broad stakeholder base. So Department of Public Health, enforcement, MPOs, RPOs have a voice in this plan, and local government, federal government. It's really a broad stakeholder, but as part of that plan development, there's a goal that's adopted by our Executive Committee for Highway Safety, which is chaired by the NCDOT Secretary. And that goal that we're currently operating under is to reduce all fatalities and serious injuries by half by 2035, moving towards zero by 2050, as David just mentioned. Next slide. Next slide again. So I'll talk a little bit here about just some of the data trends within your TPO boundary. I'll spend a couple extra seconds on this slide because they're all set up similarly afterwards. So the TPO numbers will always be in blue here. The statewide numbers will be in orange. And I just want to point out a couple of trends. How are trends in your TPO comparing to the state, and then just a level of magnitude. So the first metric that we're looking at here is not a safety specific trend, but it does inform some of those trends. So the first trend here is vehicle miles traveled. This is just simply a measure of activity. on our roadway network. So it's not a perfect measure in that it does not measure that non-motorist activity, but it does give us a good measure of motor vehicle activity on the network. And so here you see generally increasing trends. Of course, when we had pandemic years, we had a pretty sudden drop there, and then increasing trends since then, and both at the state and your TPO boundary, the vehicle miles traveled are more than what they were pre-pandemic. Next slide. And you see the next metric we're looking at here is reported crashes, which tends to track very closely with vehicle miles traveled. So the more activity on your network, the more opportunity for crashes. And so just from a magnitude, 15 to 16,000 reported crashes on public roads within your TPO boundary, over 300,000 at the state level. So those are big numbers. They're probably hard to grasp. They're a bit hard for me to grasp, quite honestly, but when you start thinking about just the amount of public resources that are involved in each one of these crashes with law enforcement, with fire and EMS, of course, many of these have impacts to the occupants from a physical perspective that are involved in these crashes. You've got the unexpected congestion that occurs. So there's a lot of impact to crashes in our region. Next slide. Probably the key metric that we look at from a safety perspective are our fatality numbers. And so these acted a little bit differently during COVID at the statewide level. So we did see a pretty big increase during the pandemic years. And that was not just our state, that was, I think, every state in the nation except for one had an increase in fatalities during this time. They've been slowly coming back down. This graph goes through 2024, but we are seeing some more significant reductions for 2025 to kind of turn this trend back to where we in a direction that everybody would be more excited about. So just from a trend perspective, 1,700 or so fatalities at the statewide level per year, 30 to 60 within your TPO boundary in recent years. Next slide. Another key metric we look at are serious injuries or disabling type injuries. Again, these are certainly an increasing trend over time. So 100 to 200 within your TPO boundary, between 5,000 and 6,000 at the statewide level. Next slide. Non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, or primarily bicycle and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries. Again, this is a growing trend, really, no matter how you slice the data down. So at a national level, we're seeing increasing trends, certainly at our state, and then most larger metropolitan areas are seeing similar trends as well. So about 800 of these events at the statewide level, and then 25 to 35 within your TPO boundary. Next slide. And actually, you can skip this one as well. And so I'll end here just on a couple of the more behavioral focused metrics as relates to safety. So alcohol involved fatalities and serious injuries, these make up about 15% of our fatal and serious injuries statewide. Next slide. Speed is a similar story here. So about 15% of our fatalities and serious injuries statewide, and certainly, again, increasing trends at the state level and within your TPO boundary as well. Next slide. And then unbelted fatalities and serious injuries, this one is a bit harder to grasp, I think, but these make up about 20% of our fatalities and serious injuries statewide. And so certainly an increasing trend both at the state and your TPO boundary as well. Next slide. And so we'll get into this a little bit more at the end, but this graph just kind of gives you an idea of kind of where crashes are occurring within your TPO boundary by municipal boundary. Next slide.
All right, so picking up on the regional safety data trends, this chart shows the number of fatalities and serious injuries between 2015 and 2024 in our MPO area. You can see that the number of serious injuries have been on a steady decline since 2022, but the number of fatalities have been slowly increasing each year since 2021. And then these graphs show the fatal crashes and serious injury crashes between 2020 and 2024 in our MPO area. They are broken out by road ownership. So we have the NC DOT roads in the 2 shades of blue and the local roads in the 2 shades of orange. You can see that the majority of fatal crashes and serious injury crashes have occurred during this time on NC DOT roads, but there are a fair amount occurring on our local urban roads as well, which may not be surprising since more vehicle and bicycle and pedestrian interactions tend to occur in more urban contexts. So I'm going to pass it back to Brian to get us started with the performance measures and target setting.
Yep, and next slide. And I'll go through this information fairly quickly. David gave a good overview of this at the beginning, but I'll just mention again that there is federal legislation, funding legislation that requires state DOTs and MPOs to set targets for the 5 performance metrics you see on the screen. Those are the number and rate of fatalities, number and rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. FHWA is prescriptive on how they want to see those metrics provided back to them, so there's consistency between state and MPO. So those targets are based on a rolling 5-year average. Those are for calendar years, and these are established annually. Next slide. And so the state has to report their targets by the end of August. With other material, we have to report back to Federal Highways, and the MPOs have to report by February 27th. Next slide. And so how are these targets set? Well, that's really where there is flexibility. So that's up to each state and MPO. The MPO can adopt the state's methodology, or they can come up with their own, as David mentioned earlier. Next slide. And so how does the state develop their targets? Well, it really ties back to our strategic highway safety plan that I mentioned earlier, and that adopted goal of reducing fatal and serious injuries by half by 2035, moving towards 0 by 2050. Next slide. And so obviously we know our past performance, we know where we want to be in 2035 based on that stated goal in the previous slide. And so we can do some math to tell us where we need to be each year in order to be to meet that goal. Next slide. And the state is assessed formally by Federal Highways as to whether they meet or make significant progress. Federal Highways does not directly assess the MPO progress towards meeting those targets, but obviously if the state's to meet, we're all have to be working in a similar direction. Next slide. And so based on Federal Highways' latest assessment, they determined that North Carolina did not meet or make significant progress towards achieving its safety targets. Next slide. And again, the MPOs are not assessed, but if they were, it would be a similar story and not meeting or making significant progress towards those targets. Again, those are very aggressive targets to meet. Next slide. And so I won't speak to this here. I'll just say there's a ton of information that we'll talk to in a little bit later about the safety data resources that are available. These are in your package, but there's also more information online that we'll speak to in a bit. Next slide.
All right, so as mentioned, 2026 is the first year that Triangle West is developing targets for consideration to present alongside NCDOTs. So if you've got any questions that we had and for us to think about are which scenario best fits the vision that we want to see for safety in the Triangle West region, are these targets achievable? Should they be more aspirational? So here are the 4 targets that we developed this year for consideration, listed from most aggressive to least aggressive. So beginning with option A, the most aggressive, we're calling this just a dramatic reduction of 100% for 2026. So just having the targets set at 0 across the board. Option B is a sharp reduction for 2026. So these are the NCDOT targets. And also this would align with their long-term goal, which again aligns with Triangle West's long-term goal of reducing fatal and serious injuries by 2035, moving towards 0 by 2050. Option C is a steady reduction of 3% for 2026, and then also seeing that steady reduction of 3% annually through 2030 if we're thinking ahead in the short term. And again, aligning with that more long-term vision of 50% by 2035, 0 by 2050. And then finally, the most least aggressive option, steady reduction of 1% for 2026, seeing that steady reduction over the next 5 years through 2030, and then reducing by half by 2035, 0 by 2050. So here are the actual target numbers for each of these, again, listed from most aggressive to least aggressive. But here's a graph showing the number of fatalities and serious injuries combined and what these target numbers would actually look like. And I'll walk through each of these here. So beginning with the least aggressive options, option D and option C. So just a steady reduction of 1%, steady reduction of 3% in the orange and navy blue lines. Our methodology for this is that we'll see just a small steady reduction for 2026 and over the next 5 years through short-term interventions, local projects, quick build projects, growing safety coalitions on the local level. But as we move through medium-term interventions and long-term interventions, so a lot of the projects that are being planned in the mid and long term, as we continue to see road safety culture shift, we'll see a dramatic reduction over time on our way to our goal of 0 by 2050. In the yellowish green line, we have the NCDOT targets, option B, that Brian just mentioned. And then we have the turquoise color representing option A, which is just a dramatic reduction. So really seeing the target set at 0 across the board. And I will mention that at the technical committee meeting 2 weeks ago, where we presented this item, the technical committee recommended that the board continue to adopt the NCDOT targets, option B. They cited an interest in continuing to align with our partners at NCDOT. We have that shared long-term goal that I mentioned. And they also wanted targets that were a little bit more aggressive. All right, so I'm going to pass it back to Brian to begin closing us out with safety data resources.
Yeah, and you can go to the next slide. So I'll just go through these very quickly. There's a lot of links in your package. That one's not a good one to speak to, but I'll hit a couple of these. So one is all of our safety projects that we fund with safety-specific monies are geolocated and plotted and available in a mapped fashion. You can see what's going on in your area. You can click on these projects and get more information. Next slide. And I will mention, I will mention we have another dashboard. We get a lot of requests about non-motorist or pedestrian and bicycle crash data. And so we have developed some dashboards there where you can kind of self-service. You can go in and see a lot of the charts and trends that we looked at earlier, specific to your municipality, your MPO, your county. And as you choose that, all the items, all the information around the outside goes down specific to your area. Next slide. And then one that we've recently set up here is our statewide crash data dashboard. This is updated monthly, so you can get more up-to-date information there about your, again, your city, your county, your MPO. You can choose specific date ranges. But again, we're trying to make a lot of this information a lot more publicly available so that safety information can be better included in decision making across our state. And with that, I'll turn it back to David.
All right, so just wanted to highlight some of the safety planning and coordination that Triangle West and our members have been working on before we open up the floor to questions. But as mentioned, Triangle West adopted a regional Vision Zero action plan in April of 2025. And we also just held our second annual Regional Safety Summit in Chapel Hill in November. I know many board members attended. There are also many local Vision Zero initiatives, plans, and projects that we've all been working on. I know that the city of Durham has their own local Vision Zero plan. Many of our jurisdictions have safe routes to school plans. Safety is embedded in all of our transportation plans. And I do want to just highlight that Durham County, Orange County, and Town of Carrboro were recently awarded SS4A planning and demonstration grants to improve roadway safety in their area. So kudos to them on receiving those awards. And there's also a conversation happening right now with speed cameras in school zones, which was a law recently passed in North Carolina. And I know many of our member jurisdictions are looking into implementing this program. Triangle West is listening in, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can support our member jurisdictions as they look at implementing a program in their area. As Brian mentioned, NCDOT has many ongoing safety investments and projects, and we will continue to work with them as a close partner during planning and design of projects. We are also establishing partnerships with law enforcement, public health, our schools, various community organizations, which really underscores that improving roadway safety is a multidisciplinary effort, and it really will take everybody working together to see the change on our roads that we want to see. And then finally, just aligning these safety targets with funding. And so what that looks like at Triangle West is that projects that are submitted for consideration during our spot process, our call for projects, that safety is a key component in those projects, and that when we're scoring projects to move forward, safety is part of that scoring matrix. And then finally, I just want to highlight the strategies and actions that are in our adopted regional safety action plan. So this plan has 12 strategies with 87 different actions that provide guidance to Triangle West, NCDOT, various community partners, our member jurisdictions, on ways that they can improve roadway safety in the immediate, short, mid, and long term. And for those who attended our Regional Safety Summit in November in Chapel Hill, attended a breakout session where we explored a few of these strategies and actions. And I will be following up with our members after this meeting to request key updates about these strategies and actions so we can incorporate them into an upcoming annual safety report that we'll be publishing sometime in the summer. So with that, here is the action. Again, the technical committee recommended that the board adopt the NCDOT targets once again for 2026. And so that is the action, is to adopt a safety target for 2026. So with that, I will open up the floor for questions. And if I can't see folks, so feel free to chime in.
I don't see any hands up, but that doesn't mean somebody's hand is not up. Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Rist? Did you have your hand up or no?
Oh, sorry. I was muted there. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks to David and Brian for the presentation. This is really important work. The data is sobering about fatalities and serious injuries. So we take this very seriously. I know we've adopted a Vision Zero plan at both the City of Durham, but also TPO wide. I like aggressive goals. I'm happy to go along with the staff recommendation because it aligns with our own Vision Zero metrics as well. So I think option B is fine. I support that. I'm happy to put in a motion if we need that.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Councilmember McCullough.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's any evaluation with the variable of vehicle type. I think public education about the impact of large trucks and SUVs. I can't think of how we might regulate them or tax them, but at the very least, we could start emphasizing the safety impact that these large and tall vehicles have, especially if we could do it by vehicle speed and show at what low speeds these vehicles become fatal.
Brian, is
I'll be happy
NCDOT?
to.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep, and yeah, and I will say that information is available on vehicle style that's involved in crashes. The speed associated with those are estimates, but that is some data that we could certainly tease out and would be happy to report that back to you at a later date.
I actually think it should be in any report we do on safety.
Councilmember McCullough, are you saying moving forward, or you want to incorporate that in this one because we're being asked to adopt the safety targets? So are you saying?
I don't know if it's possible to do it into this one, or if what changes we're going to make to our safety plan in response to these adopted targets. I don't know when is the appropriate time to insert these, but I think that we need to start making it very clear. I mean, I live in a university town and I'm amazed at how 95% of the cars that these students drive are SUVs. And I just want to figure out how to use that information effectively.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Fowler, and then I'll come back to that question about what we're being asked to do today and what folks want to do about the issue that Councilmember McCullough's raised. Go ahead, Commissioner Fowler.
Yes, I appreciate this report, and I am in agreement with, having an aggressive goal. My question is, do we have evidence from other places that if we implement, as you mentioned, some of those lower cost and immediate and short term, is it, likely that we will be able to achieve that aggressive? Do we have data from elsewhere that this is achievable with what we're implementing?
With some
David,
of the...
I'll speak to that from a...
Oh, sure.
I'll speak to that just from a safety project perspective. So the safety projects that we fund and implement, we do evaluate those from kind of a before and after perspective. So we have really strong data that shows that that those projects are effective at reducing those fatal and serious injury crashes. Obviously, we can only do so many projects. So there's a cultural perspective, there's the behavioral components, there's a lot to it, just as it was mentioned earlier about heavy trucks and such. There's a lot of aspects to safety to tackle. And David, I'll turn it back over to you if you want to add to that.
No, I think that's great. So nothing to add.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, so I think our action today is to adopt the safety targets as they've been presented to us. I think what Councilmember McCullough is asking is for additional, I guess, analysis, which could be incorporated moving forward. But in my opinion, if we wanted to incorporate that, we wouldn't be able to adopt what's in front of us today. So I guess that's a question for the board at large, or unless Councilmember McCullough, you're fine saying, yeah, I'm good with adopting this, but I want to incorporate it in the future. But that's up to you to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see adopting this as anything that really does any action in and of itself. I think that this is information that we need to use going forward. Okay. And I just want to throw in one thing about why I think releasing information like this is important. And I want to use the analogy of the toxic release inventory that EPA started putting out. When they started announcing which companies put out chemicals and what they were and which amounts, we had no regulatory power to do anything about it. But as soon as it became public, all of the amounts started dropping. And so there is real value in highlighting and exposing things that are not necessarily in the common understanding.
Thank you for that. Okay, so I think we're in agreement that we're going to go ahead and adopt the board action. So, adopt a safety target for CY 2026. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved.
And who moved it and who seconded it?
I moved.
Okay.
Second, Fowler.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Green, I think your hand was up. I don't know if that was
yes, yes, no,
okay.
Yes, it is, and I'm happy to support this motion. I just want to know if it can. I want to know what others think about Council Member McCullough's interest in getting this information about vehicle types and speed, and how can we implement that going forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. I think we should vote on this because what I interpreted Councilmember McCullough to say was that she was okay adopting as is, and then we'll talk about what additional information we may want in any forthcoming safety target plans. Okay. So, thank you. So I have a motion in a second. I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Commissioner Fowler.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nowell, I just realized. Yeah.
Aye.
Commissioner Alum. Mayor Bell.
Aye.
Board Member Mathis,
Aye.
Commissioner Howard, Councilmember McCullough,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Councilmember Rist.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. So now we could discuss some of the suggestions. I wonder if one of the things that folks could do, so that was, that vehicle data was brought forward as a suggestion. I don't know if there are other things that folks may want to see. And if that's something that folks want to, I don't know if it makes sense to just email Doug directly, and maybe he can provide us an update at a subsequent meeting of what were some of the suggestions or ideas of what we want to see in this that we maybe didn't capture in this current one, but open to any suggestions.
It felt like what Melissa was suggesting was additional data sources as opposed to different measures. Is that accurate?
Well, it sounds like the data is already there. What we need is for it to be included in a report out of safety issues. And so we look at, who owns the roads, and so in those graphs, a comparison of, or a chart of how many of those, one of those nice pie chart or bar charts, how many of them are small vehicles, how many of them are SUVs and large trucks, and making that very public when we talk about our safety planning. Because, I don't know how we address that, but just creating an awareness and dare I say it, shaming people who drive these really, really big vehicles, can help.
Thank you. I think Doug had his hand up, and then after that, I know some folks are going to be dropping off, and almost all of our other items we do need to take action on, but I don't want us to drop so many members that we lose quorum. This is the risk of flipping reports to action at the end. So Doug, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to keep us going.
Great, thank you. Councilmember McCullough, I have some ideas on how to frame that discussion. I just want to be careful that we're not suggesting that large SUVs are the cause of crashes. They're the cause of escalated risk of injury, serious injury, and fatal crashes.
Yes.
So I think there's some good framing around that we can get in there, and really, expand understanding across everyone that, what actually is causes and what shouldn't be correlated in certain through certain lenses.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have a memorandum of understanding update. I think this is this was not the one that got referred back. Okay.
All right, great. And I think there should be some slides that Samad will put on the screen when he gets a moment, just to sort of walk through what this is and where we'll be at. Thank you, Samad. We'll go on to the next slide. All right, so every MPO and TPO has a memorandum of understanding between its members and the state in which it exists. This MOU defines us, it defines what we do, it points out how we comply with federal regulations and laws and any associated state laws. It talks about how we coordinate, talks about all of our required documents, the core products, our plans, our programs, and it talks about some of the financial and administrative details, like basically mostly for this group, who puts in the non-federal contributions to our grants. Next slide, please. Why we're looking at it now Since our last triennial certification, recommended updating it, and we've had a lot of changes. We're no longer DCHC, we're Triangle West, and we want to bring more cooperation and really try to invest some of our DNA and our strategy in the MOU as we move forward. Next slide. We're trying to get a lot of input along the way. My apologies, this got cut off. We want to make sure that we have a very robust representation from public transportation, both regionally and locally. And we want to be a leader in that, because if we think to our metropolitan transportation plan, we invest as much as anywhere else I know in public transportation. So not having a strong voice there, may lead to a situation where we're not advancing policies that support that planning goal. We want to make sure that everybody, all of our members, are comfortable with how many people they have assigned to various meetings and their input. Certainly we want to make sure our meeting time is valuable and important to the people that represent the different agencies and communities. Probably more so in the last year than any other year, there are different federal laws and administrative laws and executive orders that have been changed. So we want to incorporate all that, and I believe what's proposed is up to date. I haven't gotten any feedback from the state or feds that it's not. We want to think a little bit ahead towards federal reauthorization and what that might mean. And then we've got some housekeeping, well, a lot of housekeeping, as you've seen in the markup document that we're trying to work through. Next slide, please. We want to talk, we want to consider our strategic focus areas that are still in draft, but you got a presentation more about how we're moving that along. I think there's one or two more slides. Next, please. So where we're at in this process, I looked back, and I believe the previous MOU update took about 1.5 years from beginning to adoption. So, of course, we want things buttoned down as fast as possible sometimes, but the honest timeline on this, it's going to take the amount of time it takes until it gets done and everybody's satisfied with it. We've got to coordinate with our upstream partners. The MPO board will have to approve the MOU, and I really would prefer that approval to be unanimous before we take it around to our members at the earliest March. But when that happens, to our local legislative bodies, meaning the communities, and of course NCDOT and Go Triangle will also have presentations, but the federal regs require that an MOU takes effect when 75% of the urban population are representatives of that sign. Again, I feel very important that we get this work to a point where all members can agree to it. Is there one more slide, Samad? Great. We got a lot of good input from the TC discussion. There have been a lot of changes to the draft. I expect a lot of more input and discussion with the changes that have happened. Some of the hot topics have been who's represented, how our public transportation operators and sponsors are represented on the board, what the financial breakdowns are for the grant support that we get from our members. So with that, I would not expect the board to adopt anything today. I think we need at least one more round and maybe more than one of review and comment to get this process into more formal review with NCDOT, and then reporting out any changes that happen, and potentially the MPO board, Triangle West board, approving it for distribution and approval to its members. So with that, I will turn it over to discussion. And of course, anybody listening or online, or those of you here, if you think about something after today's discussion, please send it to me with, highlighting that it's about, your comments are about this item so that we can talk about how to address them.
Thank you, Doug. I see Councilmember McCullough's hand. I need to do a time check with folks I know that now Commissioner Jacobs is the voting member because Commissioner Alam had to drop off. I think we're about to lose or have already lost our vice chair. This seems like a pretty meaty item, and I don't want to have this discussion without everyone real present. I'm anxious about, I'm just going to say the city of Durham has lots of concerns with this item, and I don't feel like it's fair to other jurisdictions to hold them when we already have several other items still on the agenda. So I would like some suggestions. Doug, I appreciate what you shared. I wonder if there needs to be a separate conversation. So Council members McCullough, Commissioner Jacobs, and Councilmember Rist, I see your hands. If you're going to say some real long conversations, which is fine, and comment, we're going to drag this meeting longer and we might lose quorum. So I just want to name that as a concern that I have at this point. I need to drop off soon. I also have a commitment. So we've already, right. So be quick. And then if we need to stand up something separate, an MOU ad hoc thing, I'm willing to do it. Go ahead, Councilmember McCullough.
I just wanted to say really quickly, we were wondering why we added the section on weighted voting, and I didn't quite understand whether Go Triangle was in or out on the list. So
Go Triangle is still a voting member. They are not just ex officio.
And
were those your only questions, Councilmember?
Yeah, I mean, they can be addressed later if need be. I just wanted to throw them out.
But those are the ones you're raising right now. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
We are expected to have a weighted voting mechanism per FHWA and FTA. I would prefer it be tied somehow to population so that we have a rational basis for assigning that. The most current draft sets the level for approving or carrying a motion under weighted voting at 60%, because the city of Durham has 56% of the population in our metropolitan urban area. And that way, one entity cannot carry the entire weighted vote by itself.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the details of Durham County concerns. I just want to have a suggestion. This MOU proposes a lot of different kind of structural changes and policy changes. And so my suggestion, Doug, would be for you to schedule meetings with all of the partners, representatives of the MPO, of the TPO, and to have small, conversations with each government, et cetera, to hear the concerns and have a conversation and all of that. The second thing is, I think what would be really helpful would be some type of a document where you could kind of like an explainer that might help address some concerns off the bat, which would be explaining the rationale for the major changes that are being proposed. What is the rationale for those proposals? Who has had input into them? Have they been vetted? And what is the problem that is trying to be solved? I think when we did our governance study for Durham for the transit plan, they did a really great document that explained what are the proposed changes and why. And I think something like that would be really helpful. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Riss, go ahead. And then I see you, Commissioner Green.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll be brief. I know we've got a few more things to do and the meeting's running long. So I just want to share the concerns others have voiced here that this is something that's been a long time coming. This is envision some major changes. We just need more discussion about this as both individually. I like Commissioner Jacobs' suggestion of Doug reaching out directly to individual jurisdictions, but also I think we need more conversation together as a group on this. So I'd support the idea of some kind of additional process to get feedback on this, because it's a big thing to adopt, and I think we need to do it carefully.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Green.
Yes, thank you. First, on behalf of Go Triangle, I definitely want to thank you, Doug, for reinstating our voting membership, and to other members who appreciate the importance of this. I know, Doug, that you've had other additional back and forth with Go Triangle, especially Catherine Eggleston, and our staff greatly appreciates the listening that you've done to the concerns. I know Go Triangle does have concerns about, or questions at least, about the proposed transit operators sponsor committee. Not that it's not a good thing, but I guess I'm just echoing what I'm hearing here from my Durham colleagues, that there needs to be a lot more discussion. And to what Carl just said, given all of that, I would hope that our February meeting, we are not asked to adopt this MOU, but to have a full board discussion of it, with an eye toward future adoption after some of these other conversations have been had.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to make a suggestion. I think that Danny and myself and Doug can get together and figure out a structure where it may call on some board members to participate in these small conversations. I'm also going to make the suggestion, no, we will not be taking this up in February. So you can expect some direct conversations, some maybe being voluntold to sit on some things if you're a board member. And then a subsequent full board discussion, and that may happen 2 times through. So I'm just going to say that as the chair, I've heard a lot of concerns, and so that's how I think we should proceed. I think today was just an update. We don't have any action to take other than to receive the update. So I'm going to keep us moving on our next item. Thank you. Next item is, sorry, y'all.
Tip
23, is that right? Yes, 25, sorry. Tip amendment number 2. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. I am Phil Fasatsin, planner of Triangle West. I'm here to talk about our latest update with the TIP. So I'll be discussing our amendment number 2. And one thing I'd like to note is that earlier this month, we received word that NCDOT, FHWA, and FTA have formally adopted our MTIP that we approved last summer. And so any amendments moving forward will only apply to the current step. Next slide. Just a quick introduction. So TIP is a 10-year program of funded projects for all modes. It contains the funding and schedules for all projects with federal funding. And whenever there are changes to these projects, it requires what are called amendments. Next slide. And so on this current amendment that will be going up for public comment, we have one new project that is sponsored by Go Triangle. This is for 4 bus stops in Hillsborough at the locations shown here. Other updates on this amendment include adding funds for operating assistance in Orange County, and as well as updating the construction year for the bicycle plan implementation in the town of Carborough. On to the next slide. So this amendment will just be released for public comment right now. Will be accepting comments throughout February, and it will come back in March for approval. At this point, happy to take any comments on this amendment.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I think our board action is just to release this amendment for public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fowler?
Aye.
I think Vice Chair Nell has dropped off. Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Mayor Bell, Board Member Mathis,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Rist.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving us on is the federal funding policy update. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. I am going to keep this high level because I recognize we are quite behind. So the MPO, one of our responsibilities is to assign federal funding for projects that we have a pot of money that we call our regional flexible funds. That is at the MPO's discretion. So I'm going to talk quickly background, talk about some proposed changes that we brought before the TC at their meeting earlier this month, and share some of the comments from the TC, and we'll go from there. Next slide. Next slide. Perfect. So the pot of funding that we have discretion over includes these funding sources: block grant funds, transportation alternatives, and congestion mitigation air quality. Our staff opens up a call for projects every year where we request applications from our member agencies, and they submit project applications to us. Our call for projects is currently open right now, scheduled to end towards the end of this month. We are going to extend that call for an additional week due to the winter weather we had last week, to allow them some additional time, but that call should end on February 6th, I believe. All right, next. Our federal funding policy outlines how the TPO will select and score projects. In keeping with our goals, we prioritize projects that are not roadway projects. So public transit, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, transportation, signal management operations, planning studies funded through our UPWP are sometimes included in this as well, and safety projects with a documented safety concern. Next slide. All phases are eligible for funding, starting with NEPA all the way through construction. Next slide. Next slide. So there are three main things that we're proposing to change for this upcoming call for projects. The first is to identify a separate policy to allow for fund swaps for certain types of projects. So we have a pot of funding that is essentially made available to us through NCDOT, swapping out funding for projects that are not moving forward in that year because of delays for some reason or another. They move money off of those projects to get that funding encumbered before August for the August redistribution, and they give us an IOU letter that tells us how much money they moved off of our projects, and that money would be available in some funding source in a future year for a project. We would like to get that funding allocated to projects and encumbered as soon as possible so that there is no risk of losing those IOU funds. And so we have identified on one of the early pages of the document where a potential policy for allocating those fund swaps. Number two is a new requirement for projects that are requesting funding through the TPO, which would be to sign a grant agreement with Triangle West, and also provide a certification that the non-federal match required for all projects is in place prior to Triangle West allocating funding to that project. And lastly, another big change. In the past, our travel demand management program has been funded off the top. We are suggesting and proposing that TDM funding would compete with all other projects for funding through our RFF pot. Okay, next slide. So there was quite a bit of discussion, as you might imagine, with our technical committee earlier this month. We had not made any changes to the policy since that discussion. We wanted to present it to the board as initially proposed to the TC, but the TC did not take action on this item, and therefore we are seeking at this time your feedback on these changes today, and we will make some updates, hopefully for the February meeting. So some of the concerns expressed by the TC were adding new requirements for the grant agreement and certification, that the non-federal match is in place will be cumbersome for technical committee members to provide those documents or those certifications, and that this could add more time to getting these projects funded and allocated. Secondly, there was a request for an extension on project applications for these new requirements. Since the project call for projects is scheduled to close now on February 6th, that we're giving a 1-week extension for the requirements that are currently required under the call that we advertised in the fall. For any new requirements that would be approved with this update to the federal funding policy, those would not go into effect until a later date, and there will absolutely be an extension for getting, for example, the certification of that non-federal match in place. We know that that will likely take time for each of our members to do, and since it has not yet been approved, that there will be an extension for that. For the TDM projects, one comment and part of the discussion was that there will be a joint TDM plan underway soon that is in partnership with Capital Area MPO and our partners at NCDOT, IMD Division. And this plan will support a better idea of how much funding is really needed for these projects and for this program moving forward. So we will know those numbers before we start allocating future money for this program in a future call for projects. And then last but not least, more clarity around the fund swap policy. Now, this is something we will be working closely with NCDOT on as far as when the timing, how we will know how much funding is available for this. And we are working on providing some more clarity about how these projects will be selected if there are multiple projects. So with that, I will turn it over to you all for any questions that you might have or discussion. This board action is actually not relevant. Simply review the changes to the federal funding policy at this time and provide feedback to us. You're not approving the update at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? And I know it's similar to the MOU. I think we probably have, this is a robust discussion item, and I don't know, we are, you know, almost an hour really past when we're supposed to be done. So I wonder, Colleen, I know you said bring it back in February. I want to see if that is an accurate timeline. If folks feel like it needs to come in March to give people the real opportunity to meet with their TC members and really dig into what each jurisdiction is looking for from the federal funding policy. I see your hand, Councilmember McCullough.
Yeah, I just want to say that I would love to have the TC response. I would love for them to act and give us recommendations before I feel comfortable having any vote.
Yeah, and we're not voting today. It's just an update.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah, what Colleen had suggested was that we would vote on this in February, and I'm not sure, based on the fact that we're not going to really get a discussion today, if that's an accurate timeline, or if we really do have to take it up in February because we're on a timeline that we are not in control of. Commissioner Jacobs, go ahead.
Yeah, I would also just, again, process-wise, it would be helpful to have staff explicitly explain the rationale for the proposed changes, which I assume are based on real results and situations. And the other question I have is, I wasn't clear when I read this, what the role of the TC would be in decision-making on the projects that were selected. So that would help, that would be good to clarify, but thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Councilmember Rist.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, in addition to the issues that Colin raised, I'm happy to hear, or eager to hear more feedback from staff on their recommendations. Also, I know this is not one of the items that Colleen mentioned, but generally the issue of the funding request maximum is also an issue I'd like to talk about. So I think we need some more discussion on this.
Colleen and Doug, maybe what we can do is after this, spend some time looking at the February agenda and make sure that we're not overloading it in the same way that then neglects our ability to really, and I know why we didn't meet in December, I get it, but then it doesn't give the opportunity for appropriate discussion. So I think what my recommendation is, let's circle back and see if I think one thing that would be helpful is the current to the what's proposed, and potentially getting that response from different TC members of different jurisdictions. That's going to be one thing I'm suggesting based on what I'm hearing from board members. I'm seeing a thumbs up to that. So I commit myself to having that conversation with TPO staff. Board members, I don't know if we'll bring this back to you all in February for a vote. It may be just another update based on the things that we're hearing here. Are TPO staff comfortable with what we're suggesting?
Yes, and
okay.
I agree. It may be March or April before we've been able to meet with everyone and refine the comments.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Any other questions before I take us to our last action? Again, the action today was just to receive the federal funding policy and provide feedback. We've done that so that we don't have to take any formal vote. Our next item is the environmental justice report methodology with Samad. Good morning.
Hi, I'm going to be talking from, I've got two computers in front of me, but I will be quick with this. So this is the update to the environmental justice methodology. We brought this to you guys originally in October, got some feedback from y'all in the TC. So we're bringing it back with this update and some of the preliminary findings. Real quick overview of the legal framework. This is part of our Title VI compliance efforts, which requires all people to have fair access to TPO plans and planning processes. This identification process helps us tailor our outreach and ensure universal accessibility and better community engagement. It also means that when we are doing special studies, we can make sure that we are, reaching people where they need and ensuring that, like, wherever a corridor goes through, we can address the unique needs of that community. Recent federal guidance has removed some of our environmental justice requirements, but it hasn't changed what we're allowed to do. So we can still continue with all of our existing environmental justice programming. The prior methodology took these 7 communities of concern. I'll go over that on the next slide, and use like the ACS data to find what percentage of these populations were part of these communities in each block group. Block groups are like the smallest level of data that the Census Bureau provides a lot of this on. We took the 75th percentile and above block group to designate as EJ communities, and overlaps in those block groups were considered to be higher needs. There's a couple of issues. The 75th percentile threshold's not arbitrary, but it does have limited explanatory value. It doesn't really tell us a whole lot about the needs in those communities. It also amplifies the impact of sampling issues. A community that's at the 76th percentile in reality may be showing up as the 74th percentile, and we might be missing it as a result. And it ignores the overlap of multiple disadvantaged communities at medium to medium high concentrations, so that like 50th to 55th percentile, those just don't show up under our old methodology. So the new baseline methodology takes those 7 demographic groups: seniors, low income, zero car, Black, Hispanic, minority, and low English proficiency households. It scores each on a category based on percentile. So an area with an 85th percentile senior population is given a score of an 8. Those scores are then summed to create a transportation disadvantage index. This is what NCDOT did for their transportation disadvantage index. So we're really building off of what our state partners have kind of put together. A variety of benefits, increased flexibility. The scaling allows communities with equity concerns at lower levels to be flagged and included. It smooths out that ACS data issue and the cliff effect that I talked about earlier, and captures differences in how disadvantages show up across the region's diverse population. Also, as we look out for the next 20, 30 years, when we're looking at the changes and how our community is growing, it means that we're identifying populations that might have unique needs even as the neighborhood around them gets wealthier or changes in the demographic makeup. So taking into account the feedback that we got from the board and the TC, we heard 3 main recommendations. 1, we want to see more weighting when it comes to income because that's the main thing that drives access to transportation, and as well as seeing adding in the percentage of the population with a disability and the percentage of our population that is veterans. So we created 4 indexes. This chart kind of showcases them. All of them have the disability and the veteran population, and then we have 3 different ways of kind of like weighting income to better match what we know on the ground. After looking at these different indexes, we ended up going with so the federal government has the areas of persistent poverty. That's something FHWA has said that they're going to be looking for in grant applications. So we decided to take those block groups and essentially double weight their low income score within those areas of persistent poverty. And that created an index that we feel really matches with the reality of how people have access to transportation within our area. I'm now going to go to a web map that we've put together that showcases all of this data and how it interacts with the different planning programs that we have here at the TPO, the STIP projects, the Destination 2055 MTP, and some of the performance measures and data that we had pulled off of that, off of the modeling from the MTP. This is something that's going to be available when we bring the EJ report back to you all in February for release for public comment. This is something we're going to be using during that public comment period. I want to go through all the layers here. I think that might not be prudent given how over time we are, but I'm happy to go through anything that seems interesting to you guys. We've got the percent change in job access via different modes, kind of the change in transit and walkability. This is all coming off of the MTP. And then we also have the high injury network that we've created as part of the Vision Zero plan, the high injury intersections, all of our STIP projects, and the MTP projects. Is there anything that you guys, I'd open it up to questions now. If there's anything you guys want to look at in particular, we can kind of like go into that, but I don't want to keep you for too long.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, I just want to say that this map that you're showing us right now is really pretty incredible. So thank you for including it. Our action today is to approve the updated methodology for identifying environmental justice communities in the environmental justice report.
So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Jacobs, seconded by Councilmember McCullough. Commissioner Fowler.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Aye.
Mayor Bell. Okay, I think we also lost Board Member Mathis already as well. Commissioner Howard.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
here.
Board Member Mathis.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a roll call. I have to do it since we're online.
Yes. My answer is
Thank
yes.
you.
Can you hear me?
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember McCullough.
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Rist.
Aye.
Thank you all. We are now done with our action items. We have a few articles and updates. Item agenda number 28 is going to be in February, so please plan accordingly. That will be a closed session. We are moving that to February when we're back in person. We are, our next meeting is Tuesday, February 24th at 9 a.m. and we are officially adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all.
Good seeing everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.